This is gluteus medius weakness. You can see my knee is shaky and it's unstable as I drop down into a single leg squat. This is gluteus maximus weakness. You can see my hip is poking out to the side and my thigh bone or my femur is rotated inward into too much hip internal rotation. Now it is possible to have both hip internal rotation and adduction as you come down into a single leg squat. You may also notice this when you're running, but you do want to make sure that you are strengthening the correct muscle if you only notice one of them. So if you notice that the knee is a little bit more shaky as you come down, then you want to strengthen it into hip abduction because it's going into too much hip adduction as we come down into a single leg squat, or you may notice this when you're running. When you're running, you may also notice that your knee is not only caving in, but your leg is crossing over midline with each stride. This is also a good indication. We just need to strengthen into hip abduction by strengthening the gluteus medius. So one of my favorite ways to do this, you're gonna grab a resistance loop and you're gonna place it around your ankles. Now as you do this, you're gonna do this on both sides, but I'm gonna show you on just one side here. So I'm gonna stand on my left leg, making sure that my knee tracking over my second toe, my glutes are loaded, they're back, and all I'm gonna do is keep resistance on this band as I bring it out to the side, bring it forward, and slowly out to the side as I bring it back in this semicircle position, keeping tension on the band the entire time. Now I'm gonna feel it on this gluteus medius, even hip flexor and glute max because I'm coming back in the hip extension, but I'm also gonna feel it on the stance leg because I'm controlling that single leg stability. So that's why it's good to do this on both sides. Now if you wanna progress this exercise, you can grab a foam roller and I'm gonna go into a split squat position with a foam roller. So the foam roller is just gonna act as a way for me to push my knee out into more hip abduction during the split squat. So I'm gonna take the foam roller and I'm gonna put it against the wall, and just for the positioning on the knee to show you, it's a little bit above the knee, and the foam roller is at this little bit of a diagonal here, so it's not straight parallel with the ground, and it's also not perpendicular, it's kind of in between. I'm gonna place the foam roller against the wall, and all I'm gonna do now is get in this split squat position, so I'm ready to come down and up. But before I do this, I just wanna make sure my knee is pushing out into the foam roller, and then as I do this, I also wanna make sure I'm not leaning my trunk into the wall to push my knee out. So your pelvis is staying facing straight ahead as you come down, knee is pushing out, and big toe is pushing straight down. This will also allow you to not have all your weight on the outside of your foot, so that's basically the goal of your big toe pushing straight down. Now you can come down into this split squat, and you're just emphasizing pushing your knee out, big toe down, and you'll feel this more in the glute med that's in the leg in front that's actually pushing into the foam roller. Now if you notice it's more of a rotation at your hip and a too much hip internal rotation, the hip is poking out to the side, then we want to strengthen the gluteus maximus, and we really want to emphasize strengthening it by controlling our hip internal rotation, because the gluteus maximus controls external rotation, so it contracts into external rotation, and hip extension, which means it controls hip internal rotation. So the one way to do this, you're gonna get into a split squat position again, and I'm gonna work on my lead leg's internal rotation. So I'd be strengthening here my left gluteus maximus, and as I drop down into a split squat, I'm gonna rotate towards my front leg with my hips, pelvis, and my entire trunk and shoulders. So it looks like this. Now as I do this, I'm just placing a little bit more load on the left gluteus maximus. Now I am also working my gluteus medius and my hamstrings and my quads, my adductors a little bit, but with this extra little rotation that I'm adding in, I'm controlling that hip internal rotation. Another way to do this is you're gonna grab the same foam roller and you're gonna place it against the wall like this, and it's going on the inside of my knee. So from straight on, you can see it's on the inside of my knee here, and then it's just against the wall on this side. Now in this case, I'm gonna be working the right gluteus medius and gluteus maximus, but we're just gonna emphasize controlling into hip internal rotation with an exercise I call airplanes. So place the foam roller against the wall, your knee is right under your ankle, and you're gonna get into this slight little hip hinge, not fully down, kind of like halfway of a single leg RDL. I'm gonna cross my arms over my chest, and I'm just gonna emphasize rotating towards my right leg, which is on the ground. Now when I do this, I'm just controlling into that hip internal rotation, rotating my pelvis, my trunk, and my hips, and coming back. Now, as you do this, you will definitely feel the gluteus maximus light up as well as the side of the hip, because the glute med does also do internal rotation and external rotation, depending on the fibers. And we're just gonna keep rotating with control. Now, if you wanna take this to the next level, you can rotate towards the stance leg, and then you can rotate away from the stance leg, opening up into external rotation on the front, on that stance leg, internal rotation here, and external rotation as I open my hips up and my pelvis up. So we're doing closed chain rotation, which is really important for running. This is such a good one to just light up the gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, working on single leg control, and we're also pronating and supinating at our foot and ankle. Now, if you like these exercises and you want more gluteus medius exercises to really strengthen, prevent hip drop, prevent that leg from crossing over, I recommend you check out this video, because most of the times PTs are gonna hand out clamshells and side steps, and they're just not enough to strengthen that glute med when we're running, because it takes on so much load controlling the pelvis and controlling that single leg stance. And if we have gluteus medius weakness, it's really going to increase our risk for injuries, because it's not only controlling the hip and the pelvis. As you could see, it was controlling what's happening at the knee and then eventually at the foot and ankle.